All right, welcome everybody. We're just gonna give it a couple of minutes to allow everybody inside. I see some of your comments. Drop your location. Where are you guys from? Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Okay. Seattle, Canada. Okay, we got Canada in the house. I'm in Toronto, Canada as well. Bay Area. LA, New Orleans. Love the food over there. Georgia, New York, Montreal. Okay. Oregon City, Denver, Colorado. Nice. Nice. Anywhere else? A quite array of people from all over. Love it. Philadelphia. Nice. Keep them coming, you guys. And I hope you guys are having a good day so far. We're going to get started soon. I'm super excited you guys are here. I love it. Love the excitement. I'm curious if you guys have also worked with a kid agent before. If any of you guys, or this is your first time. Oh, yes. Perfect. First time. Okay. Don't worry. We're going to walk you through this step by step so you guys have all the information needed. First time. Okay. Wow.
Oh, good.
It's all good. We were all there once. Okay, just get your notepads ready to take some notes. It's going to be a very informative session and also exciting as well, so you're not going to get bored. Okay. And for any questions you guys have, we're going to have a time slot later on where you can ask all the questions you have. So don't worry about that as well. All right, we're going to get started now. So thank you. So thank you so much, you guys, for joining. Today we have Wendy Woods, who is the head of scouting for Stars Talent Studio and a partner to an independent record label located in Manchester, United Kingdom. At the age of 12, she began her career in front of the camera as a model when she signed with a small agency outside of Dothan, Alabama. She continued to explore her calling by modeling throughout high school and into her 20s. While working as a club promoter and gaining exposure to the music industry, her path to fulfillment was realized. Since then, Wendy has made it her mission to obtain as much exposure and knowledge as possible within each sector of the entertainment industry. Her passion to help aspiring talent open the doors to the industry success fuels her passion to continue to discover and deliver the best performers to the rest of the world. Giving back to society and paying it forward is seen as not only an obligation, but for the betterment of humanity. Her devotion to this cause can be defined and examined by her contributions to the Breast Cancer Foundation of America, the Cystic Fibrosis Foundation, as well as Autism Speaks. As an award-winning photographer, she pays homage to her true passion by devoting time throughout her work week, capturing once-in-a-lifetime glimpses of our youth. In her personal life, she is a proud mother of 2 teenage boys and a passionate connoisseur of the arts. We also have Ali Clark, who is a talent manager and director from New Faces for Star Talent Studio. And we have Kate Serena, who is the head of Casting Directors Department. So please join me in welcoming Wendy Woods, Ali Clark, and Kate Serena to the panel.
Thank you.
Hi, guys. Hi, everyone.
Hi.
We're all excited. So starting off, what kind of brands do you work with?
Gosh, we work with a lot of different brands. The big ones in particular are Disney. We do a lot of Pixar. We do Hallmark. Everyone's seen Hallmark movies and Christmas movies. We do a lot of those. Gosh, who else do we work with, Allie?
We do, yeah. We work with Pottery Barn, American Girl Doll. We do Mattel Toys, lots of different national brands as well. So it kind of varies, but yeah, big things. Disney is a big one for sure.
Hmm,
Nice, nice. Now, for
yes.
those who don't know, what in the world does a kid agent do?
Oh, a kid agent. Well, the agent's job is to find talent and submit the talent for jobs. Basically, they act as a liaison between the talent and the casting director.
Okay.
Yeah.
And anything to add to that, Ali?
Yeah, I mean, what's great about what people kind of think versus what they need, a lot of times parents will come and they'll ask, hey, you know what, I'm looking for a talent manager, or am I supposed to find an agent? And they don't know the difference between the two. And as what Wendy had said, an agent's job is to find you jobs and negotiate pay on that. So that is her sole responsibility. She doesn't do the hand holding. She doesn't go with you to different casting. She doesn't do anything. That's actually more along the lines of a talent manager. And that's what a talent manager would do. Kind of takes more of an individual approach and kind of guiding you through that. A lot of times people wonder, how do I get a talent manager? Talent managers, depending on kind of where you're located and what your territory is, talent managers can act in some ways as an agent, but as far as negotiating contracts and things like that, that's strictly usually with the agent. In most places, you actually do need to have a law degree to be able to do that. There's certain territories that don't require that, but there are a lot of them that do, because of the contractual things that they need to, overview and discuss.
Nice, nice. And how does the kid get on an agent roster?
Well, gosh, well, it depends on the roster. It depends on the territory. It depends on the kid. Allie, why don't you start this question out, if you don't mind?
Oh, yeah. So a lot of times people really want to get their child started, right? They're eager. They're like, hey, my child is amazing. I'm not being biased, but they really are amazing. And that is a very common thing that I hear, in most of our interviews and our preliminary, things moving forward. When you have a child that's usually between the ages of 0 to 2, there's not training that needs to happen in order to be on a roster. It's based upon a look. You might have an agency that's looking for a lot of ethnicity. You might have one that's looking for certain sizes. You might have someone that's looking for certain abilities, or they might just need a couple of teeth on someone. So, I mean, it's that type of thing for babies. Generally, what's needed for babies is a headshot and a body shot. And if it's a good fit with the agency, they'll offer you a contract with that. And depending on their system and how they move forward with things, you'll be able to kind of understand the process of how you're getting those jobs and kind of moving forward. If they're above the age of 3, and moving forward, those are things where they're capable of understanding and learning how to do things. So they can maybe deliver a line. They know that they could walk down a runway, maybe hit a pose, turn around, whatever those things. So they're able to take direction. And when you're able to take direction, that actually puts you into a different category. So those things are going to be, hey, you know what, we want this child, but I need to see how well they do in a commercial. So hand me over your commercial reel. Or, hey, I'd like to see how they are modeling this particular brand, let me see their comp card. So there's different types of things that would warrant them being on a roster based upon what they've done, if they've had any training before, and kind of where that avenue is going to take them is dependent on also what the parent is looking for as well. A lot of times with babies, and I'm just going to kind of cover that real quick, producers, directors, if you think of a child in a commercial, or if you think of a child even in a print ad, it's usually with the parent or a parent. Producers, directors really, really love the fact when parents are involved with their own child in those types of castings, because the child behaves so much better with their natural parent or someone that they know. A lot of times when we get on set, it's they're going to be paired up with someone that's different, because not every parent wants to be a part of that, and that's frightening for the baby, and it sometimes takes a while to adjust to that. Their issue is time is money. So they want to make sure that when they have somebody on set that they're going to be okay. It's okay to be able to have this child with someone else. We're not going to be wasting so much time calming a child down in order to do those types of things. So I let people know kind of right from the get-go, what is the goal for your child? And also, if they're not ready, if they have a lot of stranger danger, if there's things like that, they're not going to photo well, they're not going to behave, and it's going to be one of those things that's really frustrating for both parties. So to kind of keep that under, in the back of your mind when you're wanting to move forward, especially with little kids like that.
Gotcha.
Well said. Yes. Yeah.
Anything to add to that, Wendy?
No, she pretty much said it all. She said it all. Yes. Yes.
Nice. And at what stage does a kid need an agent? Is it at the very beginning, or is it after a few experiences underneath their belt? Talk me through that process.
Well, every agency has requirements, they for different territories. I would say that the child starts to need an agent when they are actually ready to be marketed. When they have their materials together, i.e. their reels, their headshots, when they have enough training to actually book the job. And it's not just booking the job, it's also impressing the casting director. It's not so much as impressing, the casting director and the agent. So they really need to be on their A game before they start trying to go out there and book work. The worst thing to do is to send a child to a casting director who has no idea, as to what they're doing, how to handle themselves on set. And unfortunately, this is something that we see a lot. And every parent is biased. I was at one time with my boys. We all think our child is just the best and they're perfect as they are and they don't need anything. Well, that's not true. That's absolutely not true. Being an actor or a professional talent, that is a profession. It has to be looked at as a profession, whether the child is 0 or, 18, 17 years old, it's a profession. So it has to be approached as a profession. Resume, headshots, reels. So, and training. So, looks don't get you everywhere anymore. Back in the day when we were models and everything was easy, you just sit there and look pretty, that's out the window. What separates you from the rest of the boys or the rest of the girls is the training, is the education behind you. So yeah, that has to happen. That needs to happen before you actually go and try to get an agent, or honestly, you're just wasting their time. You're just, and I will just add this, any agent who will put a child or a talent onto the roster and promise big things, that right there that's a red flag. Because it's just not true. It doesn't happen that way.
Very much
so.
And that's something I know that a lot of people have, where they'll say, hey, you know what, they've done a lot of work for some boutique things, or they've, done this and that, and they loved it, and it's great. We think that that's wonderful. We think it's
Yeah.
wonderful that they had a great time. It's wonderful that they had those opportunities. However, if we're going to pitch you for something big, if we're especially pitching you for, Disney or American Girl doll or anything, Abercrombie, any of these things, you have people nationwide that are trying to get these same opportunities. And what's going to separate you is your professionalism. And I know it sounds a little funny because these kids are young, but teaching them young to be professional and to how to handle themselves and how to do things and to learn how to take direction is vital at that age, and to be able to be successful.
Well said, well said. Now, when a talent has an agent, can they still apply to casting calls?
Oh, sure. Absolutely. But it also depends on the territory. What territory is the agency cover? It depends on the type of contract, whether it's going to be exclusive or non-exclusive. And if that just pertains to the area in general. So, again, it all goes back to the agency and what their contract actually states. But a good way to find out is to actually call the agency or talk to them, about the exclusivity that may be involved with the contract moving forward with them.
A lot of times people also have mother agencies, and when you have a mother agency, that is the main focus of that. So they get a cut of whatever that talent's doing, no matter where they're at. You'll have territories when she's explaining that from an agency, for instance, with the territory over here, we encompass Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Utah. Some of these sound very, very boring, but it's actually where a lot of the high profile type shows and high profile type things are being filmed, and where they take a lot of the talent from. And they don't realize it till they actually end up getting the castings and seeing these things coming through. What that means is, from an agent's point of view, is you can't have another agent in those territories. You can have an agent in anywhere else, but when you have representation with that agency in that particular territory, you're represented with all of that. A lot of times people will say, well, I have a Los Angeles agent. Is this okay? Yeah, absolutely. It's absolutely fine, as long as, like I said, it's not infringing upon your contractual agreement with, what they already have in place for you. But that's how that works. A lot of times people in the beginning think that they need to have a lot of different agents in a lot of different places. And that's a huge misconception. You don't need to have that in the beginning, especially. When you want to be the most marketable, you're going to actually have your feet planted in one market, and you've been working in that market where you have good content to actually sell yourself to other markets. And that's when you're able to actually acquire those other things and start moving on to that. There's a big, misconception that you have to have all of these different places, so it broadens that, I guess, skill set to everywhere. Whereas if your agent is actually working for you, you're actually being really tailored to, and you're getting the things that are going to work for you, and solid things that are going to make you look good, and also building upon your demo reel, which is really, really what you need, to sell yourself as well.
Nice, nice. So it seems like everything's location based from what I'm
Yes,
hearing.
very much so. Yeah.
Now, I know you guys don't work for free. So how much do you charge? How much does a talent agent charge?
Well, so again, this is
Or does it depend on the
kind of
location?
yes. So, okay. It does depend on the agency, and it depends on the territory. You can look at anywhere from 15 to 20% is usually the normal fee.
For commission. Yeah. So
around,
commission based. So,
yeah,
and I think that's the biggest thing too, is to know that that is a commission. So you don't pay to be a part of an agency. And that kind of, I know, will lead into more of the scam type things, but you don't pay to be a part of anything. When you are ready to go to an agency, you are ready to show them all of your materials. You show them all of those things, and you're set to go. And when you're ready to book those jobs, and you do book them, you will, how an agency makes their money is based upon you booking. So they will receive about 15 to 20% commission for non-union. And if they are SAG, it's a 10% standard commission with that.
There shouldn't be any monthly fees associated. There shouldn't be, an
absolutely not.
initial, fee to join the agency. Sometimes depending on the agency and how they market their talent, there may be web fees that are involved. Now that is something that's normal. But again, it depends on the agency and where they are and what they're actually going out for. So.
And a web fee too, just to clarify what that web fee is, you are seen on a website. And so when someone is saying, okay, we need your web page, we need your website. And a lot of times people say, hey, I already have one. And this is what I'm going to do. That's great that you have one, but you're actually needing one to be put as a part of that agency's web. So that is completely separate. So there's a different way of, importing your materials. Sometimes web pages will have portals for you to receive the castings through. Whereas if you had your own website, that's not going to happen that way. So she's, Wendy's absolutely correct. You will have, there are some agencies that will have that. Actually, a lot of them have web fees, and they're they shouldn't be anything extraordinary. I mean, maybe $100 for a year to have your web page up and running, which is, something well worth it when you consider someone has built that for you, they're maintaining it, and any issues, according to that is up. So yeah, it shouldn't be anything astronomical by any means for a web page on the website.
Okay. Now, does an agent help talent to train?
Well, in most cases, an agent does not help the talent to train. You can ask your agent or the agent if it's something they can refer the talent to, but in most cases, no. An agent is not really responsible for training the talent and branding the talent. Usually that's on the talent to provide. So, yeah.
Gotcha. Anything to add, Allie?
No, I think that's a lot of times people will be like, you know what? If they love me enough, they're going to pay for my training and they're going to, do this and that. And that is a very common thing as well. Agents, you have to remember, are representing a lot of people. And when you come to the table and looking for representation, you should already have your marketing in place, meaning you have your headshot, you have your resume that shows that you're trained, you have reels, or if you're a model, you have a comp card. And again, a resume showing that you have those things in place. So an agent actually shouldn't have to say, hey, I'll pay for anything, because you're selling yourself anyways to be represented. So that doesn't really show well when you're saying, hey, I want to be a part of it. If you really, really like me, you're going to do this. Absolutely not. These people are coming to the table to find representation and for an agent to work hard for what you already have in place and your skill set that's already put in place.
Okay.
Everyone has to bring something to the table. I hear that so much. My gosh. You have to have everything in place. It's wonderful if your child is beautiful. It's wonderful if they can sing. It's wonderful if they can dance. It's great if they can model. Wonderful if they have all these expensive portfolios. But if they're not really bringing anything to the table, especially experience and the training to back it up, then it's it's almost a waste of time. Because once again, we are vouching for that talent to the casting director. We answer to the casting director. Our jobs depend on the casting director and what they say. So disappoint him or her, that's it. So
and that's a good point. Yeah. And it's not, and Wendy made a really good point with that. It's, we are kind of the catalyst for you, because we're not saying yes or no on castings. We get to filter through submissions and to determine if that's worthy to go to a casting director based upon what your skills are and what you're already submitting forward with that. The talent has to remember that when you have a professional company going to an agency, the reason why they're going to an agency is because they're trained professionals. It's not just, hey, here's a database full of random people. That's not how that works. So it's very much like I said, that's how an agent is actually negotiating your pay. If you are a very seasoned actor and we have several that are on some major films that you all would very much know who they are, but we're not at liberty to say. But when they have done so much work, that's where an agent can negotiate that pay even higher. And to be able to utilize that. Sometimes people will say, you know what, we're doing a great job on our own, and why do we need an agent? And that's something that they have to kind of, determine for themselves. If you will have a momager or a dadager that wants to move forward and kind of figure out all those things on their own and take that responsibility on and do their research and due diligence and what the casting directors are needing from certain projects and things like that, go for it. But you're going to find that the easier route is to have someone that really knows this business, that knows the connections that are needed, and will vouch for you based upon not just being a mom or a dad, but because they're the agent and they are there to get you jobs. That's their whole sole priority for that.
You guys are the experts. Now, with all this pool of talent, are you guys limited to the number of people you can take on as agents? Like, talk me through that.
Well, again, it depends on the agent. There is no set limit. Every agency, they determine how many people they want on their roster. Obviously, the smaller the area, you'll see, fewer talent. It can vary. It can vary from, there are agencies who may have 3 people on their roster. There are agencies who may have 3,000 people on their roster. Again, it just depends on the territory and what the agent's vision is. How many jobs are they booking? What do they have access to? Who are the casting directors? What kind of business is happening around them? That really determines how many people an agent will actually represent at one time. What's the demand? So it's supply and demand.
Like, I can do this all over again. Any other input, Ali?
No, I think she nailed that. It's very much true. Sometimes parents will look at it and be like, hey, this is too small of an agency. We want bigger things. That doesn't mean that agency isn't providing bigger things. It's just what that agency has decided to do. Other times agencies are quite large. STARS is one of those. It's because we cater to the whole United States and Canada. So we have people all over trying to get into these higher profile things. And because that's the nature of our territory, you have a lot of people, and therefore we can have more people on a roster because of that.
And we're also full service, which means that we don't just, represent actors. We represent musicians, singers, dancers, comedians, stuntmen, makeup and hair artists, directors, some producers. So it's not just actors. We said professional athletes. So yeah, so I mean
we've got everything.
Yes, everything. Yeah, absolutely. If there's a market for it and there's a casting director that wants to film it, then we'll represent them. So as long as it's good for the company, as long as it's in good taste and there's a positive outcome. So we're also very particular, of who we work with, when it comes to clientele. So I guess you could say we are more of a family-based agency. It's more of a sort of intimate agency, even though it's a huge agency. We're very family oriented. I mean, again, and just to kind of touch on what Ali said earlier, how do I say this? There's a lot of gray area out there when it comes to safety and when it comes to exposure. We're very we're very strict when it comes to things like that. You know, we work really hard to make sure that we keep our talent safe, you know, keep them in the best light. You know, that it's a win-win for everyone. So, and again, you know, we love parents on the set. We love parents to be involved. Yeah, so it's more wholesome. It's more wholesome.
And that is the motto. Actually, the model of STARS in particular is healthy role models. And it's not going to push you in a place where you feel uncomfortable or you have to feel like you can't separate from your child, because you absolutely can be with your child the whole time if you wanted to. The clients that we work with are, you know, amazing. So it's very much kind of that approach, rather than throwing random talent into a pool and say, swim as fast as you can, let's see what sticks. It's definitely, let's see, let's actually put you into a good scenario. A lot of parents get a little leery of the entertainment world, and they should be very cautious of this entertainment world. It's a very competitive world. There's amazing things that happen. There's also evil things that happen. And, you know, that's just kind of the nature of our world. I think, you know, it's just, that's the way that it is. And as long as you're smart, as long as you are, you know, protective of your child. If you decide that you want to have a different stage name for your child rather than a legal name, that's a very, very common thing. I personally, you know, put my kids through these types of things when they were younger, and I didn't want them to use their last name, so they went by their first and middle name. Because, you know, it feels, for me, it made me feel a little bit easier, just, you know, for the confidentiality and the safety of them. But by all means, that might be just fine for other people. And very much so, that is the case. People are like, hey, we're good. We're totally fine. Let's do it by our real name. And you can actually do whatever you want, you know, in that way, to make you feel, you know, as safe as possible, and to make sure that you have your child's best interests in mind, for sure.
Is number one. What other tips can you tell us for somebody new coming in, so we can avoid, you know, being scammed in this industry?
Allie?
Yes. So looking for scams, that's actually a very, very real thing. Here's some examples. Anyone that comes forward and says, we can guarantee this, we can guarantee that, we're going to take care of this, we're going to take care of that, especially when you're bringing nothing to the table, especially when you don't know why they would take you on, and how they're going to market you based on having nothing. So that's one thing you need to look for. So when you're having an interview, you want to understand their process. You also want to understand if there's hidden fees or agendas that they're wanting you to participate in or to do. You also want to see if, you know, the types of things that they are supplying to you, what does that look like? Is that something that you're going to wait months and months and months for? Is this something that you're going to see results and castings for on a weekly basis? Then also that depends on the type of area they're coming from. You have bigger markets that have bigger things, so there's things coming in weekly. Other times people will be on a roster saying, hey, I haven't had anything come through for months. What's going on? I don't get any jobs. I don't do any of these. Those are things you need to work, you know, to listen for. The things also that I'm very, very cautious of, because I speak to so many people that do these big events and big places where they guarantee that all of these agents are going to be there to see them. And they're going to have, you know, these workshops and all these things. And, you know, you pay thousands and thousands of dollars for these big events. And then they realize nothing has come from it. When you look at this type of scenario, you have to understand that when you have everything put together, you go to the agent of your choice and you schedule an interview. It's not a bunch of agents standing around saying, I want this one, I want this one, I want this one. That's a way that a lot of people get confused. So that's absolutely in your hands. Save your money and don't go through that whole process thinking that, you know, you're going to get picked up. It's very easy and very cost efficient to not go that route. if you have the proper things in place, then you research out the agencies that are near you, or who you want to be a part of, or who is best suited for you. Maybe it's based on referral, maybe it's based upon, projects or whatever. And you reach out to that agent or the agency or whoever's actually, doing the onboarding, and ask them, can you let me know if you're accepting any new talent, and what are your requirements, or what do you need from me? That way you have a full understanding of what they're needing. You're catering yourself to that market, and you're not wasting time with things maybe that are not going to do any good for you other than a basic education of how to do some simple things. And you're paying a lot of money. And I've heard up to $12,000. This last one was $12,000 for this. And I just am mind blown, because it's just, to me, it is not something that is needed to gain representation with.
Well said. And I just wanted to add, and any real agent who has a successful agency, they're not going to be wasting their time at, I like to call it a corral. It's almost like a corral where you corral all of the fresh meat in there. And no, they have better things to do. Like, if they are that big of an agent, guess what? They're out doing jobs. They're out booking jobs. They're out submitting their talent to jobs. They
don't need to find
in
a
hotel room somewhere, or some rented convention center, picking this one. That's not how it works. That's absolutely not how it works.
No.
So, that's another common misconception. Oh, all these agents, but are they really agents? Out of one convention, you may have one real agent there. And I guarantee you that agent's probably going to be there for an hour tops, if they even show up at all.
Exactly.
So I'm not trying to knock anyone's business, but I'm just saying that it's a pipe dream. It's wonderful to think about. It's wonderful to know that, your child is getting attention. Well, if your child is getting attention, then you know what, let's go the legitimate route and actually go and speak to an agent. Let's get the materials together. Let's get them into training. Let's get them branded so we can actually make something happen. The rest of it, I'm sorry. It's false. It's a false reality. So
we're not huge fans on that.
No, we're not. We're very passionate.
And especially because so many people come to us after attending this and say, hey, I have this, I have that, I have, whatever. The issue too is that you need direct feedback, and you need to know your castability with things, and you're not getting that from a cattle herd of people coming through. You're going to know directly what you need to work on, and in a reel, you're going to show that range and diversity that you need to book several different types of characters or several different types of roles. When you're doing things on a basic basis, that's just a basic type of thing. It's not separating you from anyone. And that's why it's even better to just, even at that point, do a private coach if you need to do that. But like I said, with what people want to do, that everyone wants to make it big. Everyone wants to be the next star. And everyone thinks that their kid is better than the other kid. And that's just how being an awesome parent is that, of course, that they have potential, that they have talent, and you want to get them into the right hands. And I think that's just the general, motto of moving forward, especially in this business, and not getting put into the wrong hands. It's someone that's just going to take money or to tell you to, do things that aren't needed. One thing to remember, as we've kind of talked about this before, is you have a bunch of territories that will require different things. Back east, I noticed that they can do some monologues as part of their, maybe demo reels. On the west side, we don't like those. And casting directors don't prefer to see that. They want to see scenes. They want to see you active, interacting with people. They don't want to see self-tape submissions. And those are things, like I said, you're catering yourself to. Don't waste your time in doing something where you're not going to be utilizing that for the agent that you're wanting to move forward with. Research out which agencies are best for you. If it's something on a global level and you're like, hey, you know what, this will be great, I want to have opportunities here, who's the best for us in this realm, move forward, get what they're needing, and take that advantage of knowing what's needed, so you're not wasting so much energy and money and time. And I think you have a lot of parents out there that that are excited to get their child started, or for even themselves, because we work with people that are obviously of all ages, but they're willing to just do anything and everything, or they're not willing to do anything because they feel that they've got it, and that's what separates you from the professionals, and that's also what's going to separate you from gaining excellent representation, as someone that already has those things put together, and we're utilizing those things that you have and your talents and your experience, and to get you into the right hands in a professional way.
Well said. Well said. Thank
Yeah.
you. Now we have a lot of questions flying in.
Yeah.
If you guys have any questions, just type it in the Q&A. But the first one, do you need a comp card? And what would you consider a great demo reel?
You want to handle the comp card
So
one?
the models, you go ahead with your, she's like more. She's
You're
an
fine,
expert
you're
with models.
fine.
No.
No, for models, they do. So models need, anytime you're coming to the table and wanting to be a model. Now, this is, like I said, you're moving forward for ages 3 and up. Anything that's below that, it's a headshot and it's a body shot, and it's just cute, right? It's just baby type stuff. Comp cards usually consist of 3 types of things. So you have a high fashion look, you have a casual look, you have a novelty look, or as you're older, you'll have a fitness look, kind of depending on what it is. A comp card will have your stats on there, your sizing, your hair color, those types of things. On the back, it shows where you've trained, what you've done. And that is what you present to the client. A lot of times people don't understand that process. Now, on a comp card, it is not going to be snapshots. It's not going to be things that look like you took in your backyard. It's not going to be of little Johnny on a sofa just looking cute. These are professional photos. These are things that are magazine worthy. These are things that make you look professional. So in studio style settings, these are what they are. Backgrounds, solid backgrounds. Unless you're going through and you're a very seasoned model, you'll have some maybe catalog print type things you can put in there. But if we're talking about someone, especially kids kind of getting into that, if they've already modeled, let's say for Tommy Hilfiger and those type of things, those are professional things you can put in there. If you're trying to build your comp card, solid backgrounds are what you need to have in there. You're not going to detract with things in your hair or brightly colored hair or things that age you. One thing that you have to realize too is when you're being brought on as a model, your photos are actually going to be used for years on end. So things like, for instance, hair color, haircut styles, those types of things. These are things that you want to look timeless for. If you ever look at a print job and you can tell, okay, this is definitely a 1980s mullet based upon what they're doing or their hairstyle, or the huge bangs and those types of things. I know I personally have some of those of me. Those would never be able to be used ongoing. And from the photographer, the client's point of view, that's what they need to have, are these types of things, that are timeless for a comp card. And then I don't know, Wendy, you can talk about the reel if you want, of what they need in the reel, or do you want me to? I'm more than happy to do whatever.
I mean, I'm listening. I'm learning from you.
Okay. Okay. No problem. So your actor's reel is usually going to be 10-second splices that are going to last 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes, and they are going to be scenes, and it's going to show different character types in those scenes. So it's going to show your versatility and range as an actor. As a commercial actor, especially with little kids, that's a very common first type of reel that they'll have. They're going to have different types of splices and different types of things to fulfill a commercial reel. So they might have a testimonial about how much they love Cheerio cereal, and then they might have a nonverbal splice. They might have an infomercial where they're bringing in mom and dad and the kid. I mean, there's a lot of different things with that, but generally speaking, yes, you have those. That's the splices. That's what you have. We refer a lot of people when we're doing things to those things, because finding someone to put together those types of things, especially for reels, can be very expensive. And I tell people that, again, tailor it towards your market and what they're wanting and what they're needing to see. Higher level things, national things, are going to pay anywhere between $40,000 and $50,000 for those types of things. Local things anywhere from $500 to $10,000, depending on what you're doing. So knowing that that's the type of thing they're looking for, and also showing in a reel that you have different character types is beneficial not only for the casting director, but for your agent as well. They can have, there's things coming through constantly. If they see that you are an amazing emotional character in part of your splicing, they're going to send that clip along with your reel and hope that you get that particular role for that casting. And the most often times now, we find, especially where we're over here, most people are looking at your reels more than your actual audition tape. And we had just recently, about 3-4 months ago, a couple of producers came in from Oklahoma. They have a big kind of Knives Out type of movie that they're doing. And they did not actually look at one audition tape. They looked at every single reel and they booked them based upon their reel. So you can kind of see how important that aspect is, because it shows that range of character and range of versatility within your acting for those.
It's a calling card. It's a calling card.
Nice. Next question. Is it okay to sign up with multiple agencies, or is it something that's a little frowned upon?
Yes, it's okay. Again, as long as you're not encroaching on another territory, it all depends on the agent and, what is their territory. So as long as, you're not breaking the contract, then absolutely, it's okay. You can have as many agents, as you want. I don't believe it's actually frowned upon. I mean, do you, Ellie?
No, not at all.
No.
So I think the biggest thing too is people think they do need to have a ton of that. When you're really seasoned, you will. In the beginning, it's not worth it. You're going to have the same opportunities, and if your agent is someone has your best interests in mind, you're going to see things across the whole nation, where you don't need to have somebody in that particular location to vouch for you in the beginning. And then when you find that you're doing a lot of stuff in Los Angeles and you're doing a lot of things like that, then yeah, that would make sense to have a Los Angeles agent. LA is a very tight market to get into with the good agencies. They usually like to see a lot of experience and training when they bring you on. You have to remember that LA is that's the capital of entertainment. So you have everyone wanting to get to LA. And they think that by having an LA agent that puts them in, with a lot of extra types of opportunities and things like that. Anytime you have opportunities, it's wonderful, but it's not necessary that you have to have multiple agents, especially in the beginning. I actually advise people to stick with where they want to go first. And then from that point, once they've established themselves in within their talent range, then they branch out and showcase what they've done. So you can have really great representation in other markets.
And when would you recommend someone to join a union or to join SAG?
Well, do you have a recommendation for that?
So a lot of people, their immediate response is, hey, I want to do something as fast as possible because I want to be SAG.
Yeah.
Well, why do you want to become SAG? That's your first question. Secondly, in order to become SAG, you need to have booked at least 3 SAG projects, and then you're eligible for that. One thing you need to remember is when you're SAG, that means that you can't go off for non-union things. So that limits you. Now, especially in the beginning, I actually personally don't recommend that, because you're trying to build yourself. You're trying to get as many opportunities as you possibly can. So if you're just waiting for SAG projects to come through, it's going to be a slower process, whether you have a lot of other types of things. A lot of times people who are SAG end up going FICOR, and FICOR is something that you can actually do non-union and union work with. But in the beginning, don't focus so much on SAG. Work on building up a great, book for yourself. I have a lot of people that come who are SAG because they've already built so much and they're great to go. I don't tell people that, hey, this is, the end goal. The reason why people want to do SAG is because obviously it is great. Your commission, once you are that, it goes down to 10% instead of 15 to 20. And you're usually paid at a higher rate with those types of things. But just keep in mind, in the beginning, you're trying to get work in general, and limiting yourself to certain projects is not going to be in your best interest while you're trying to build yourself up and trying to get in to where you need to go to just get content, and to have experience. And that's just something to kind of remember with that. There's quite a few people that will come to me and say, hey, we are SAG already, because they may have been extras in something, 3 SAG projects. That doesn't mean that you're an amazing actor if you're SAG. So that's one thing that you also have to realize. There's people that can qualify for SAG, and that doesn't mean they're the top-notch tier 1 actor. That just means that they've booked that amount and they've decided to pay the membership fees and to be a part of the union.
Okay. And where does one find classes and training, and how do you find an agent to sign up with?
Go ahead, Ellie.
Okay.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I tell people is that, when you're looking for training, a lot of things is now, at least, it's all turning into virtual, and there's a lot of Zoom. Now, one thing you have to realize is when you're doing anything with any Zoom classes, make sure you're getting feedback from the instructor. This isn't a recorded thing. This isn't something where you're like, I've done a master class and took something from Scarlett Johansson and, wanted to, she has wonderful content and great things, which is wonderful, but you're not getting one-on-one feedback from what you personally need to work on and what you need to do. We refer a lot of people across the nation to a place called Utah Talent Academy. You can go to utahtalentacademy.com. It has different certifications in there, so you're tailoring yourself to exactly what you want to do, rather than having a broad base of, hey, take an acting class, hey, do this. It's very geared towards what you want to do specifically. And then also it helps you with your reel, which is amazing, because you usually have to pay an arm and a leg to have that. And a lot of times people will say, well, how does that work if you don't live in that territory? That's the glory of Zoom, is they're giving you those materials. They're also giving you things based upon your cast ability, and they're giving you the background type things, what you're needing for scenes. If you're doing something in the kitchen, they're providing that software that shows that you're in the kitchen for those scenes. They're giving you, your scripts, your things like that that are needed. So you're able to kind of tailor yourself to you. And then also those coaches are there to help with that aspect, also helping you and your cast ability within that. So we refer a lot of people to that because it's a nationwide program, and it's very affordable also. And it caters towards, kids, and it caters towards a lot of different things. If you want to be a model, there's a modeling program. If you want to be an actor, there's one for commercial, there's one for motion picture, there's one for, TV series. There's a whole bunch of different types of things that kind of do it. And it's catered towards what you specifically want to do. So it's nice in that way. If you don't prefer to do Zoom, it's a personal preference. But I will tell you that I would say majority of the places that people come to and discussing where they've got representation and things, most of them are Zoom. And they relate to you just like you're in class. They relate to you just like you're there. They're small class sizes. So, you have 12 in a class. I mean, it's very much just like you're there. It's just that you're on Zoom. So that would be a good nationwide, just because everyone here is from all over the United States. That's a great one. Sometimes you do have to have referrals. I know with that particular one that you do. When you get a referral, we make sure that it's actually giving, you're getting into the right hands, and then you connect with the directors over there, and you're kind of moving forward in that range.
Mhm.
Which agencies are great in the LA area?
So that is a huge hub. So that's very, very, very hard to narrow down, specifically with that. Wendy, do you have, and I think you also have to look at where you're coming from. If you're brand new, I don't know how many are doing brand new things. That would be something you'd have to do research out. Most established agencies that are in Los Angeles are only looking for people who are set to go. So you would have to definitely, reach out to those specific ones to see, who's accepting new talent, who's accepting developing talent, that sort of thing. But that's just a needle in the haystack. I mean, you're at the prime center of this entertainment world. So to narrow down one is absolutely impossible for that.
Right. And there's
So
a
you
lot of
probably
great
have to do
agencies out there. There are a lot of great agencies. And, it just depends on what you're going for. So
Yeah.
Now, help us to clarify this. What is the difference between a talent agent and a talent manager?
a talent agent is the person who negotiates the pay. The biggest difference is the talent agent is able to negotiate pay and contracts. A talent manager cannot. A talent agent, their job is to act as a liaison. Their job is to manage many at one time, to market many talents at one time. A manager really just focuses on one talent, maybe two at a time. So the biggest difference is that a talent agent can negotiate pay. So a manager cannot legally. Yeah.
Any other input for talent manager, Ali?
So a talent manager is, like I said, they do more of the hand holding with things. They guide you through. That is something that you personally pay for on your own. So a lot of people don't realize that. So you're paying your talent manager, and it's not about bookings. You're paying them for their time and what they're doing for you. So like I said, that comes after, like when you have, that opportunity to move forward with an agent and getting your feet wet with that first. And then that's when you acquire, your PR person, your talent manager. I mean, you have a whole bunch of things that will follow underneath that. If you have, an established talent manager is someone that will give you their rates and will be able to tell you, but usually, like I said, that's pretty expensive, especially in the beginning. And you don't need to really have that in the beginning as well.
Okay. And the last question on here, how does the categories work? There's somebody with a daughter that's 13 years old. Is she under the teenager category? Do you guys represent teenagers? What's the process like?
Yeah,
We do.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Go ahead, Wendy. Yeah.
Yes, 0 to 100. Absolutely. But yeah, they would be in the teenage category. Yes. Yeah. They would be more of a child actor, I guess you could say. And again, it depends on the look. It depends on how old does their child look? What can they play? Who can they play? What age bracket? It's all depending on the look. Unless, Allie, do you want to add to
Yeah, one
age?
thing to remember, it is based upon what you look like. So, you'll see that, in sitcoms, you might have a child that looks like they're 4, but they speak so well. That's because they're 8. And, they can actually deliver lines, and they can do, and they love it, So a lot of times people look at that as like, hey, I don't want people to know my age, especially with adults. And I'm like,
Yeah.
hey, it's what you look like. It's actually not what your age is. So, if you're 6 and you look like you're 12, then that's your castability. You're going to be in that age group. If you're a teen and you're wanting to move forward with anything and you look like you could pass off for even older than that, I had a 23-year-old girl who did a Disney commercial she was a part of the Annie Mac series, and she was playing the part of a 15-year-old. And she, without makeup, and she could play that. So that's what I'm saying. So it is based upon what you look like with that.
Got you. Well, that is all the time that we have. Thank you so much for taking the time to be on this webinar. For you guys that have any more questions, feel free to reach out to Kate. Her email is in the description of this webinar email. So reach out to her for any additional questions. And I hope you guys have a fantastic day. All right.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome.
Bye. Bye, everyone.